Worthy one, it's time to take control of your life. I know you may feel like you're hopeless, depressed, things are not going the way you always thought they was going to go, and you just feel like giving up in life. And I know how that feels because I was once there myself. So what I want to have a discussion with you guys about, or with you about, is how to take control of your life to free yourself. What's up, it's Gene. This word to be great. I remember when I was in the corporate world and I felt like that every day. I would go to work, come home, and it felt like this cycle that I was going through. And I felt lost. I felt like I had no purpose in this world. And I remember just going through the motions, feeling frustrated. And I know you probably feel like that as well. You're on a job that you're not proud of. Maybe you just got out of school. Maybe you're in a circumstance you want to change. And you feel like you have no control of your life. And you're just settling for whatever comes your way. And I will tell you that if you take control of your life, not only will you find your purpose, but you'll develop the confidence to do all the things that you always want to do in life. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to tell you about several individuals that I met while I was in the corporate world that inspired me to want to leave that corporate job, even though they stayed at it. Now, they didn't know that I was going around asking everybody what they truly want to do in life. They didn't know what I was planning on doing. And I just want to have a feel that other people feel lost, that they feel like they was feeling like they short, was giving themselves something short in life. And that's what I want to, figure out, because I knew that I want to make a move in my life to have something better. So the first individual I want to talk to about is a guy named Stan. Now, Stan was cool. Stan was like 65 years old. He was right there at retirement. And we used to talk all the time, joke all the time. He was one of those type of guys, like a grandfather that you talk to. He always got a joke. He always got a positive attitude. And one day I saw Stan and we was in the restroom washing our hands. And I looked at him. I said, "Hey, Stan, is this job what you always want to do in life?" He said, "Nah, man, this ain't nothing I ever wanted to do. Man, I wanted to start my own company or something. Life just got in the way." And I said, "So why you never went after what you want to do?" He said, "Well, I don't know, man. I just went year after year and kept working here. I don't even like this job. I've always wanted to do something else, but I never did so." So I say, "Stan, where do you see this ending for yourself? When are you going to retire from here?" He said, "Gene, I'm 65 years old. I'm never going to retire. I cannot retire. They're going to one day find me dead in my cubicle. And to be honest with you, man, I regret that when I was younger, I didn't go after the things that I wanted in life. And now I just have to settle for what I have." You see, I realized when I was talking to Stan is he had a defeated attitude. And some of you all, you have that attitude. You have something you want to do, but you already got this attitude, it won't work. You have a dream you want to accomplish, but you have settled within yourself that it cannot happen. So you're doing like Stan. You're going day after day, month after month, and you just settling for where you are, not realizing that when you get later on in life, you will have deep regret. But one thing that I can tell you, that it is not late for you. What you can do is make a decision today to take control of your life so you can free yourself. You see, Stan never freed himself, and he's still at that corporation today. He will never retire because he never took a step to free himself by taking control of his life. And if you want to realize your goals and dreams, you have to do so. But it all comes down to you not having a defeated attitude, but saying to yourself, "I can realize my goals, I can realize my dreams," and start taking action. Now, the second person I want to talk to you about is Miss Jonah. Now, Miss Jonah, if it was a party, she'd have been the light of the party. And I used to speak to her all the time. So one day we was in the cafeteria and I say, "Jonah, is this what you always want to do with your life, working at this corporation?" She said, "Oh, nah, Gene, you should know that. I've always wanted to start a company, like a dating service, have my own website, because I like to help people find love." I said, "Okay, well, why haven't you started on that? You got the energy to do it." He said, "I don't want to give up my weekends. The one thing about this job, I don't like this job, but I get my weekends off." You know what I realized at that moment I was talking to Miss Jonah is she really didn't want that dream. She didn't want it bad enough. She was willing to settle for the weekends. And whatever it is that you have going on in your life, you're probably settling. You're settling for something small. You know it's something big you want to do in this world, but you have told yourself, I have this level of comfort. I'm going to settle where I am. And therefore, I'm not going to free myself by taking control of my life. I'm going to stay in this one spot and I'm going to tell myself every day, this is good enough. And that's what Miss Jonah was doing. She had all the talent to start her own website. She was very intelligent, but she was one of those individuals that decide to settle. See, when you decide to settle in life, you're the only person that has to blame because you have an opportunity every day to take control of your life and free yourself from the mediocre existence that you have and do something that you truly want to. But if you have something in your life that's going to allow you to settle with ease, for her, it was the weekends. She was working for the weekends. She didn't want to try to realize her dream because she had that level of comfort she could settle for. And if you're an individual and you know it's something you want to do, you have to get that out your mind that you're going to settle for something that's small when you have an opportunity to go out and do something big by realizing your dream so you can take control of your life and free yourself to become the person that you want. And that's something that we all have to realize that when we want to do something in this world, it all starts with us. So you cannot settle if you want to take control of your life. Now, the next person that was very shocking to me was Miss Ruby. Now, Miss Ruby was driven. As a matter of fact, she wanted to be a nurse. She was in her late 50s, and all she talked about was being a nurse. And she had already failed the nursing test 9 times, and she kept taking it over and over again. And I remember when she got to her 11th time to take that test, she looked at me and said, Gene, I'm going to pass that test this time. I am going to be a nurse. That has been my lifelong dream. Now, Miss Ruby, she had been at the corporation for almost 30 years. So this was something that she had got comfortable with. She got used to doing. And she went took that test for the 11th time, and that was the moneymaker. She finally took that test and passed it. And when she got back, she said, Gene, I'm applying to be a nurse. I'm about to be a nurse. I finally passed my test. I was happy for her. We celebrated. Everybody was so happy that Miss Ruby had passed that test. But you know what I noticed? A month went by. 3 months went by. 6 months went by. And she was still at the corporation. So one day I went up to him and I said, Miss Ruby, aren't you going to be a nurse? What's up? It's a shortage of nurses in the country, so I'm sure you will be able to get a job. She said, you know what, Gene? It's always been my lifelong dream to be a nurse, but I realize I'm in my late 50s, and I'm afraid that if I leave this job to become a nurse, I may fail. I may not be able to do it. So therefore, I just stopped applying for the jobs, and I feel like it's just best I just retire from here. You see, Miss Ruby had a dream she wanted to accomplish. But because she had so much fear in her heart, she decided not to free herself to take control of her life so she could live her dream to be a nurse because the fear of failure got the best of her. See, you have something that you want to accomplish, and the fear of failure has the best of you. It is grabbing at your heart. Every time you think about taking that step towards your dream, the fear of failure flashes into your mind a vision of you failing. You see yourself embarrassing yourself. You see yourself being criticized. So therefore, you're doing like Miss Ruby, and you're not taking action. And you see, that's something that we all have to struggle with. I had to struggle with that when I was in the corporate world, when I wanted to be a speaker, when I wanted to make YouTube videos, become an author, to live my dream, to have my own business. I had to go through the same thing, but I made a decision to take control of my life so I could free myself from my mediocre existence. See, you got to do the same thing, and you have the power to do so. You have greatness inside of you, but that greatness will never be realized until you take control of your life and free yourself. You see, I know this is not easy. And, for a lot of years, I procrastinated actually going after my dream. But there was one individual that really, really inspired me to take that next step. We had an HR woman who was named Betty, and Betty was a very nice lady. She was extremely religious lady, and she had been at the corporation about 30 some years herself. Well, I had to go on a medical leave because the job itself had caused so much stress in my body that I had to wear a heart monitor for 3 months. I couldn't even hardly walk, so I had to stay at home. And when I was at home during that time, I had an opportunity to realize that I was putting myself through so much stress to build somebody else's dream. And I knew that I had to take control of my life and free myself from that cubicle, that stress, because that job was literally killing me. So after I got back from my medical leave, my HR person, Miss Betty, she looked at me and she said, Gene, I got to ask you a question. What do you want to do with your life? Because when you was out, we had to hire 3 people to help take over your caseload. You have been doing a ton of work. What do you want to do with your life? Because you have the drive to do something else. And I looked at Miss Betty and I said, to be honest with you, I want to start my own business. I've always wanted to attack entrepreneurship. I've always wanted to be a speaker and author, create products, use my creativity and have an impact in this world. And as I was talking to her, she said, Gene, you got the drive, you got the energy. And I want to give you that extra push. She said, Gene, you realize I lost a lot of weight, right? I said, I did. And I thought you were just on a new exercise plan, a diet. I didn't want to ask. It's not my business to ask. She said, well, the reason I lost all this weight is not because of an exercise plan. It is not because I changed my diet. It's because I have terminal cancer. You see, I found out the doctor that I may have about 2 years left to live, maybe that. And I had an opportunity to sit down and think about the fact that I let all these years go by and I did not go to do the thing I truly want to do in life. So I asked, I said, Miss Betty, what you always want to be? She said, I want to be a school teacher. I said, so you've been here almost 30 some years. You always want to be a teacher. How long have you been wanting to be a teacher? She said 20 years. And I realized that now that I have this cancer diagnosis, I have so much regret that I did not go after what I really want to do. She said, Gina, I'm telling you this because you have the drive, you have the energy to do the thing that you say you want to do. So I want to encourage you to free yourself of this place. Go after that dream so you do not live with regret like I did, because I'll allow my comfort zone to keep me where I'm at. See, you probably in a comfort zone right now. You probably been on a job for years and you got comfortable. Maybe you got comfortable in college and you just graduated. Maybe it's some situation that you're in that's comfortable to you, but you know in your heart there's something great you want to do in this world. But that greatness that's inside of you, whatever that vision is, it cannot be real in your life until you take control of your life and free yourself from your comfort zone. You see, Miss Betty never did that. It took her to get a terminal illness for her to realize that she had all this regret that she never became a school teacher. But you have an opportunity right now to take control of your life, to free yourself, to go after the thing that you truly want. But that's only going to happen by you freeing yourself, by telling yourself today, I'm going to take control of my life and be the best that I can possibly be. You see, I realized that a lot of us, we don't take control of our life and free ourselves because we don't want to have to deal with the process. The other day, I was doing my morning walk, and as I was walking my normal route, I got to a street that I've crossed so many times. But what I realized on this particular day is they did construction the night before. They had ripped up the road, and now there was nothing but mud. I mean, it was real muddy, that wet type of mud that would stick on your shoes. So when I walked up to the street that was no longer there, there was a college student that was on the side of me. We were both looking at this pretty much this mud pit, and we knew that in order for us to get on the other side to get to our destination, we had to either cross it or turn back the other way. Well, I looked at her, she looked at me, she turned around and she went back the other way, back to her dorm. And I looked at all that mud and I said, you know what? I do not want my shoes to get muddy. I do not want to cross this old muddy pit, but my destination is on the other side of that. I have a goal that I need to realize. I have things I need to accomplish. So what I did is I looked at some of the concrete that was broken up. I started jumping and I got on the inside of the mud pit. I walked to the other side. I stepped out of the mud. I had the mud all on my shoes. But the thing is, I was able to reach my destination. I was able to finish my walk because I was willing to go through the mud. You see, that mud represents the process. When you decide to go after a dream, you're going to walk up to a muddy area and you're going to have to make a decision like I did in that young lady. Either you're going to turn back because you don't want to deal with the muddy process, or you're going to keep going forward. And if you want to take control of your life and free yourself from the situation that you're in, you have to make up your mind that you're going to go through the mud. You're going to face the thing that's an obstacle in front of you, and you're going to move forward so you can get on the other side of it and realize your dream. See, you have an opportunity every day to take control of your life. You have an opportunity to free yourself, but you have to be willing to get out the mud. So you don't make the decision that a lot of the people I talked about made, to stay where they are because of fear, because of comfort, because they didn't want to get it out the mud. You have to make up your mind that you're going to take control of your life and free yourself from the situations that you're in. So how can you start doing this? Number one, you got to be very clear about what it is that you want. You see, I knew I wanted to be a professional speaker. I knew I wanted to be an author. I knew I wanted to go into entrepreneurship and have my own business. Miss Betty knew she wanted to be a school teacher. Miss Ruby knew she wanted to have her own dating service. And they knew what they wanted. They was clear. But the problem was they wasn't willing to take the action. But you have an opportunity to take action, but it starts with you being very clear about what you want, not what the world wants, not what your parents want, not what your loved one wants for you, but what do you want? And two, once you know what it is you want, you need to research what it's going to take for you to get there. It's going to take you maybe 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Find you some mentors you can talk to. Email people that's doing the things that you want. Like for me, when I wanted to be a professional speaker, I emailed professional speakers. And one actually reached back to me, and I wound up hiring him to be one of my first speech coaches. You see, if you truly want something, you have to be clear. And after you're clear, you need to do the research necessary to find out what is it going to take for you to get the things that you want. And the third thing I want to say to you is make a commitment before you take action. See, one thing I learned is that a commitment is powerful. I actually wrote out a commitment to myself that if I'm going to go after this dream, I am fully committed. I don't care what's going on. I'm going to keep working. I'm going to keep striving. I'm going to keep believing. And I left my job back in 2016, and I'm still going hard today, and it's 2025 because I was committed before I took action. So whatever it is you want to do, make a commitment. If you don't feel that commitment in your heart, it's not real. You don't need to go after that dream because you're not fully committed. That's why Stan never went after his dream. That's why Ruby chose the weekends over after going after her dream. See, you have to be fully committed before you take action. So I want to encourage you to sit down and be real with yourself and commit yourself to that dream before you take action. And the last thing is, you have to execute and endure the process. Listen, I never thought that it would be this hard to build a business, to build a brand, to write books. I did not know it was going to be this hard. But I'll tell you this, I have been enduring the process. And because I've been enduring the process, I've developed more skill, more knowledge. I'm more confident. But you have to realize that when you execute on your dream, you have to be willing to endure the process. Don't turn around and walk back like that young lady did when we walked in front of that mud pit. When you are in a dream, when you're striving to make it happen, you have to endure that process. You have to tell yourself, I'm going to go forward despite my disappointments. I'm going to go forward despite my setbacks. I'm going to go forward despite my frustration, my anger, my self-doubt, my lack of confidence. You must endure the process because enduring that process will give you the strength to sustain the dream when everything that you envision inside of your mind and your heart become a reality. It's time for you to take control of your life so you can free yourself and realize the goals and dreams that's in your heart. So take control of your life. So take control of your life. Believe in yourself. Free yourself and realize that dream. because you are worthy to be great. If you like this video, I want to ask you to like and share this video. Also, hit the bell so anytime I post a new video, you are notified. I also want to ask you to join my Word to Be Great newsletter. Click the link below. I'll put down there later on today so you can join the newsletter. It's there designed to help you build your self-worth, your self-discipline, your self-confidence, so you can find the belief in yourself to take control of your life and free yourself from the mediocre existence that you have. I thank you for watching this video. It was an honor to have this conversation with you. Take control of your life, free yourself because you are worthy to be great. Peace.